It's prime time for Slime Time, when we get to learn the tragic backstory of Shizu. Rimuru gets a brand new body, and a group of super-powered ogres make their first epic appearance. Greetings, my friends. It's time to take a look at a triple dose of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I'm going to be talking about 3 episodes today, episodes 7, 8, and 9. There's a lot of ground to cover, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. Episode 7 is all about the tragic backstory of Shizu. It's amazing how much they make you care about this character in the span of a couple of episodes, and what might be the most surprising element of her backstory and her part in the series is that I thought that she was actually going to be a mainstay. I thought that she was going to be a constant recurring character in the show, and spoiler warning, by the 8th episode, she passes away. But her entire backstory and how her legacy is going to be imparted to Rimuru is one of the most epic things about both of these episodes. So episode 7 is basically about how she was summoned by this demon lord by the name of Leon Cromwell. Just look at this guy. He even looks like he would have the name of Leon. Outside of being cold and callous, I really can't tell you much about Leon Cromwell, aside from the fact that he is just some sort of really badass evil dude. And he summons Shizu so that he can actually implant a demon inside of her body, or a spirit, which goes by the name of Ifrit. As time goes on, Shizu learns that she's not able to fully control this demon, and every once in a while, its true power actually manifests itself. She essentially becomes the slave of Leon, living under his care and taking care of all of his dirty work. There's even a very tragic part of her backstory where one of her best friends ends up getting incinerated directly by her. The main reason for this is because her friend found this cute little pet, which I swear to God looks like some sort of Pokemon, and demands to take care of it in front of her master Leon. When this thing starts to growl at him, she suddenly goes into beast mode, and Ifrit starts to come out, and he literally just incinerates both of them right there on the spot, using Shizu as a medium. And they don't sugarcoat it, and they don't cut away from it. They absolutely get Roy Mustanged. Suddenly, we cut to the present storyline where Shizu is getting ready to leave the village with her brand new adventuring friends, when suddenly she collapses and loses control of her power, and then Ifrit makes his appearance finally known. And this guy looks really freaking awesome. He kind of reminds me of Kotal Khan from Mortal Kombat X. I don't know, there's just something about him. He's like a giant fiery Aztec god. But what's really crazy is that he's considered like this ancient calamity disaster. He's like this superpowered being that no one would even possibly think about fighting against. But of course, that's where Rimuru steps in, and what's really unique here is that Rimuru actually does not take any damage from Ifrit at all. The main reason being for that is that he's a slime. He's made of liquid and water, and fire just does not seem to affect him. And he has no choice but to not only defeat this guy and make him look like a fool, but actually uses his predator skills to completely swallow him whole, saving Shizu in the process, as well as, of course, taking the power of this massive fire demon. Episode 8 is where things start to get really heavy, as while Shizu was saved, she's not going to be existing in this world for very much longer, as we learn a little bit more about her backstory and the fact that she's existed for such a very long period of time. And because of that, she's actually much older than she truly appears. And eventually, we get to learn in her backstory that somehow Leon Cromwell just sort of disappeared, and she was just sort of left alone until she met this Grand Warrior, the nameless one who apparently is the one who sealed away Veldora in the past. Shizu formed a very strong relationship with this woman until eventually even she left, only leaving behind her signature mask. And this is where we have Shizu now, lost in a world that she truly doesn't belong in, and just waiting for her time until eventually she will die. And even though she is used to the world and managed to form relationships with people and even went on to be a teacher and even helping out a lot of children who look like they're probably going to be important later on in the series, there's a reason they have distinctive designs, she essentially doesn't want her body to remain in this world anymore. And by allowing Rimuru to do this, not only is he going to gain the ability to transform into a human, but it will allow her to be reunited with her mother, which is such a heartbreaking and sad scene, but also at the same time incredibly happy because she finally was able to be reunited with her family. And the fact that it was her as a little child again, seeing her mother honestly, guys, the scene just brought a tear to my eye. I didn't know that the show was going to be capable of such emotion, especially considering that, let's face it, the show is practically a comedy at times. Fact is, the drama during the scene is pretty fantastic and highlights that the rest of the series is going to be able to tug on our heartstrings, make us laugh, and show us some amazing action. But of course, the big result of both of these episodes is that Rimuru finally has a human body, which is elaborated on a little bit more in episode 9, where he finally gets to test it out. And what's really interesting is that while he did absorb Shizu, he's not exactly female and he's not exactly male. In fact, he's completely genderless. It's implied that he has no genitalia whatsoever. But I really love the look of this character, especially because they could have gone real stereotypical and made him like a big, brawny hero. No, he's just this genderless slime. Watching him actually test out his abilities as a human for the very first time is pretty satisfying, and basically just watching everybody's reaction to seeing him as a human for the first time is pretty great. But again, he still commands a lot of respect from the goblins and the dwarves of his village. The bulk of this episode follows Rimuru and his goblin team as they make their way through the woods to go on a hunting expedition. What I especially love about the beginning of this scene is how Gobta points out the fact that while he looks female, he doesn't necessarily have any ample pubes. So Rimuru decides to just absolutely clean his clock by delivering a massive kick to him, which is really funny. It's very obvious that Gobta is going to be everyone's punching bag for the show. But let's get to the juicy, meaty center of this episode, the introduction of the ogres. Characters who have actually made their appearances in the intro, and I have very much been waiting to see what these guys are all about. They're not your typical ogre. They're not like Shrek at all. I mean, they're the exact opposite in many senses. Some of them are incredibly sexy. But what's interesting about these ogres is that they seem to have more in common with Japanese oni, which are basically ogres at the end of the day, but they seem to resemble them a lot more. In fact, a lot of the inspiration and design from these characters comes from Japanese mythology, which I think is actually kind of funny. I think it'll allow Rimuru to actually have a stronger connection with some of his characters, and he even notes that, yeah, they seem to be using armor and Japanese weaponry. What I especially love about the designs of all of these characters is that they all have really unique weapons and different colors, and it looks like they're all going to have a lot of really fun personalities. But like a lot of the other monsters in the series, they don't have any names. But their main introduction in this episode is just to show how incredibly freaking awesome that they actually are. To put it bluntly, they actually end up giving a pretty good battle to Rimuru. Yes, we get our very first battle in his human form, and for the most part, he and Rengar are able to take out most of them, except for this leader, this young red-haired guy, and this old dude who looks like he's going to be all sorts of awesome. He's basically an ogre ninja. This guy actually ends up cutting off Rimuru's arm, but since he's a slime, he simply can just put it right back in place. And what looks like it's going to turn into a big epic battle actually ends up turning into a stalemate as Rimuru decides to reveal himself and his powers, basically creating a giant fiery black tornado and even summoning black lightning, showing these guys that not only is he indestructible and can't be cut, but he can also deliver all sorts of pain. But he also doesn't really want to fight against these guys as well. He genuinely seems to want to help them, as it's just a big misunderstanding. These ogres were attacked by a group of orcs and a Majin, and he thinks that these guys are actually associated with them, but no, it's actually all just a big misunderstanding. And before you know it, they're all buddy-buddy and they're getting ready to party at a big old banquet. It's made very obvious from the intro that these guys are probably going to be a part of Rimuru's team, and I welcome them because they're all so fucking cool. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen, though, because in the intro it shows that they seem to have, like, an ogre form and a more human-looking form. And I'm not sure why this is, how they can transform back and forth, but if I had to have, like, a guess, it'll probably have to do with the fact that Rimuru is going to name these guys and probably allow them to go through a big transformation or some sort of evolution. And what is implied, of course, is that these guys are way stronger than your typical monster, because even the old ninja ogre is able to give, like, Rimuru a little bit of a damage when he actually cuts off his arm. If these guys ended up getting named, they're going to become incredibly powerful. But I can't wait to learn a little bit more about their backstory, why they're being attacked by these orcs, which might have something to do with a scene that was actually shown at the end of Episode 8. This weird, freaking plague doctor-looking dude who goes by the name of Gelmud is just walking through the desert, and he ends up finding this giant pig, who's referred to as an orc. So the orcs in the series are basically the moblins from Legend of Zelda, and he ends up giving this dude a name, and it's apparently a part of some big mysterious plan, and that's that. You know, all I know is it's cool. We're finally gonna get a villain for the actual series. So what's the rundown on all of these episodes of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime? I know this review's all over the fucking place. It's just I'm talking about 3 different episodes right here, and the first 2 are definitely more connected than the third one. All of the episodes with Shizu and everything I thought was probably the strongest material that I've actually seen from the series in terms of writing and characterization, and reminding me that the show is not just a goofy comedy, but can actually pull at my heartstrings just a little bit and make me see something a little deeper here. I thought it was also very heartbreaking that all this time, Rimuru has been stuck in this creepy slime body with the memories that he used to be a human in modern-day Japan, and now he's in a fantasy world. And when he finally finds someone who he can actually connect with on a deep cultural level, they eventually leave him. Yet at the same time, he makes such a deep connection with them, and it completely changed the way that you'll think about that one time they were saying that he's going to meet someone he's going to be destined with. I thought that this was going to be some sort of romantic element, and I'm kind of glad that they shied away from that and gave us something completely different, which ended up ultimately feeling a lot deeper and more symbolic when he actually ended up getting his human form. It made the wait to actually seeing him transform into that human form, I think, way more worth it than it was if they'd have just, like, fallen in love and that would have been that. It shows that even though Shizu's not going to be a part of the show anymore, in a way she's constantly going to live on in the form that Rimuru is actually going to be taking in the show. And I don't know what it is, but man, that's just absolutely brilliant. Her entire backstory was also just perfect in my opinion. Very heartbreaking, but very hard-hitting, especially the scene when she was forced to kill her friend all because she lost control of her powers of Ifrit. I hope that we'll actually get to see more of that in the future. I was kind of hoping maybe in this episode we would see it manifest, as when he's battling against the group of ogres, the one red one decides to use some fire against him, and I thought maybe he's going to try and, like, match him by showing off Ifrit's power, but no, he's a slime. He just walks through it like the frickin' T-1000. The ogres themselves are instantly likable, if only for the fact that their designs are just so perfect in every single way. The ogres themselves also seem to have some sort of culture or order for the fact that they do have an ogre princess who is just, oh, so freaking adorable, by the way. But basically what I'm trying to say is these characters are perfect, and so far this might be one of the best, most likable cast of characters that I've seen from any anime series. I mean, I love every single character that has been on screen in this show. As for where their story is going, how they're going to join Rimuru, and how this is going to tie into this whole big story about orcs and Majins, is a complete mystery. What I will say is that the episodes with Shizu were actually the strongest material that I've seen from the show, and episode 9 was just action-packed and fun and featured some amazingly cool designed characters. It's the beginning of the next major arc of the series, and I can't wait to see where it's going. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is without a shadow of a doubt one of my favorite shows of the year, and these episodes I think are a strong case for that. I'm giving every episode a 5 out of 5. If any of you guys did watch it, tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.